Attack the enemy! Victory is ours!
Hello everybody and welcome back. Today will be another 5-battle 30% research booster with my 8.3 Soviet tank lineup. I've already done a 30% 5-battle research booster video with my 8.3 tank lineup for the Soviets, but that's where I needed the most research done to finish my SU-100P, which is what I was researching here, so I used it here again. This was a battle from 28 September 2017, and this was just before I'd started using the Object 120. I had not used it for the... I hadn't done the first 10 for it yet, so I didn't have it in my lineup, although I did actually have it available. As far as I remember, I believe this was the day that it came out, but I did the first 10 the day after. I think. If I remember correctly, that's how it went. Anyway, I didn't have it in my lineup yet, or I certainly would have been using it with the research booster. The research booster was about to expire, so I had to use it up. Anyways, I started up in my T-55A, which is one of my most favorite Soviet tanks I've ever had. And figured I might as well follow my random squad mate here so we could help each other repair if necessary, and he started taking hits almost immediately. I'm trying to back up and spot whoever the heck is shooting him, and unfortunately he took so many hits before I could even spot who was hitting him that I didn't notice there was another KPZ-70 right below him. Now I got down here and was just about to light him up, but the reload race between the T-55A who's moving and the KPZ-70 who's sitting still and not moving is probably always going to end up like that. So I did take out a KPZ-70, but unfortunately there were two of them down there in the river. Still, not too bad of a start for the T-55A with a 30% booster. Made sure I had my cursor in place before I respawned, so that as soon as I respawned I could just immediately press down the A button and left click on the mouse and mark where the guy was. Unfortunately, the IS-6 who was up there in front of me in the water didn't seem to notice the KPZ-70 shooting at everyone right behind him in the river. Or possibly the IS-6 was damaged and had his turret or rotation or something knocked out. I don't know, but at any rate, the KPZ-70 killed an IT-1 and then turned around and killed the IS-6 as well right behind him. So that KPZ-70 was having himself a grand old time there in the river. Most of our team is sitting back trying to play long shot shell tennis, which isn't too bad in a battle map. I was actually not angry with them. It was playing it kind of smart and safe. Plus it makes the battle sometimes last a little longer, which can be fun. Now I know there's a KPZ-70 over here somewhere in the river, and I'm going to move up to where I can ambush him if I can help it. So I'm going to sit here for a few minutes and see if I can spot anybody else moving on the far side of the river there, which there's sure to be. And then maybe keep an eye out for the KPZ-70 who was in the river, because he's still pretty darn dangerous. I can see some shots coming and going from all over the place back near their spawn. And then, lo and behold, here comes said aforementioned KPZ-70 who had killed me and a whole bunch of the rest of our team. I managed to bounce a shot, somehow, from somebody, MIT-62, and then got a crew knockout shot on the KPZ-70, which I was quite happy to do. And then tried to get myself the heck back behind cover in my T-62. So I know there's a whole bunch of guys up here in front of me as I'm taking hits from them. I can see them sort of moving. Couldn't quite get a hit on that guy that did anything useful, which I thought was kind of interesting. It was a very strange hit on that Leopard. Then I took a pretty good hit that disabled most of my turret in most useful aspects. So backed off to try and get cover from the front where I was pretty sure the hit had come from, and I'm moving up to try and start my repair. So I'm angled off to block the guy who I think is in front of me who had done the damage, and in a minute or so I'm going to start taking hits from the right side as well, which was less than optimal. I was able to complete the first repair and then try to push forward and see what else I could spot up here of other enemies moving and shooting, as I can see all over the place across the river. Decided I might as well knock these trees down in the way, and then of course the trees didn't knock down. There's nothing worse than deciding, alright, I'll risk this shot to knock a tree down so I've got visibility in front of me, or no one can sneak up behind it, and then you shoot and the tree doesn't fall. So you've unnecessarily given away your position and fired a shot and have to reload, and you didn't even knock down the tree you were trying to knock down. But you can see the shots they're trying to mark me for the guys that were just on the other side of the river and all those wreckage and stuff, and then I finally spot somebody else coming up. And this time I got a real tangible good hit on a leopard, but it was only his breach, so he was able to immediately back away as fast as he could. However, that's one leopard's breach taken out of the battle for at least 8 to 30 seconds or so. And this time I was able to take a tree out and make sure that I could hopefully see him if he came back up again. Wanted to make sure he didn't have anything to kind of hide behind, so knocked out the, whatever you want to call it, the early house construction there. So, yeah, there's only so much you can do when you're getting hit from multiple directions and nobody is moving up to try and take advantage of all these guys shooting and revealing their positions, so what do? You hope that you survive as many hits as possible and build up as much research as possible to make good use of the booster. And then you come back in your IL-28 and get some gosh dang revenge. God darn it. I'm trying to keep the cursing and swearing down in my videos, otherwise I wouldn't... Normally I would just say the words I want to say, but YouTube being what YouTube is being. Also, I'm trying to just kind of clean up my language in general and be a little bit better and a little less prone to just dropping language like that on anything. At any rate, bombs away. I was trying to hit the Gepard there that I saw in the river, and I ended up killing a leopard instead, so aimed at a Gepard, killed a leopard, made a poem, took out an MBT instead of an SPAA, works for me. So, went back to try and get the IL-28 slowed down for landing, which is actually kind of tricky sometimes. Some of these runways are a little too short. You can see the warnings from the team about a 262 coming for me, so searching around, looking for him behind me. Don't see him yet, and then see him swooping in, and I'm still trying to slow down to land, so I'm going to engage him with my tail gunner here, and then hope that the tail gunner kills him, which my tail gunner does, but then he's able to get hits on me as he's falling to the ground and take my tail out, and I was still slowing down and trying to still come in for landing at the Berlin Flughof, but it didn't work. So, back in the T-10 to get a little bit of talisman research on... to go along with my 30% RP booster. Now, thankfully, the T-95E1, my random squad mate, could see the KPZ-70 up there in front of me and shot him before he probably would have finished me, because I probably very likely would not have noticed that guy up there hull down like that in that road spot. That was a really good spot. If you didn't see him, go back and look. You can see just his turret sticking up. And he was in a really good position to be blasting our spawn as soon as anybody came out. I hate spawn rapers, but he was in a real good position to be doing it. Not that I'm encouraging that kind of thing, but he did find a really good spot. You can see another TAC nuke IL-28 strike go there. And you can see someone get hit up here, but I couldn't see them, because as soon as they got hit, they'd backed off. So, bounce a shot, like literally it bounced off the side of my turret armor there from somebody back there. Trying to spot where the shot came from. I see him. It's a KPZ-47. I get a pretty good hit on him and start a fire, which should have been more impressive, I think, with the 122 mil APC-BC round, but whatever. It was at least a fire that's going to keep that guy from moving right away and at least burn up one of his FPEs. Switched over to the APDS simply because I don't have too many opportunities to use it in the T10. I don't really get too much playtime on my T10M anymore. I'm still working on spading it. And then suddenly my tank just explodes with no, like, warning of a hit or anything. And turns out it was that same guy that I had seen get hit popped back up over his hill and took out enough of my crew with the... Heat FS round. Now, I had to sit for 4 minutes in the battle before someone actually killed the KPZ-47, and that gave me enough spawn points to come back in my BSU-57, which I did. And as the enemy team was capturing the B point, I put artillery on it to try to do what I could to stop them, and then charged in towards the capture point to hopefully blast the crap out of whoever was there taking it. And as you can see, I got hit by somebody driving up to our spawn right immediately after that, and it didn't really matter because they finished capping our point out, and it was kind of irrelevant anyways. However, not too bad of a start. First place for the first battle, for the 5-battle 30% booster, and pays up pretty well. Not too bad of research. I mean, terribly poor compared to air battles, but as far as tank battles go, not too bad. Not quite a 1-to-1 death ratio, kill-to-death ratio or better, which I always try to get, but did everything I could to try and help us win. Battle number 2 took us to Japan, and this battle ended up being alright as well, as you'll see without really spoiling anything. I did skip one battle, you'll see. Spoiler, it's either 3, 4, or 5. I did skip one that, like I said, you'll see when we get to it. So like I said for Battle 1, I do really like the T-55A, but it does still have its slight problems with difficult tasks like driving up hills out of the spawn. Now, like I said, this was the first day. Yeah, that's right. This was the first day that the Object 120 had come out. So I had it credited to my account because I had pre-ordered it, but I didn't have the time to be sure to dedicate to getting the first 10 done. I like to do first 10s all in one sitting if I can. So I saved it for the next day, figuring it was right before the weekend, and I was going to have the video for first 10 that I already had for the Monday following. I was just going to replace with what I consider to be the higher priority Object 120 first 10. So I knew I'd be able to get to it the following day, and it wasn't going to come out as a video until the next Monday anyway. The schedule was close enough that I didn't need to do a weekend release for it. I did consider it, but I figured Monday would be close enough, and since I wasn't getting the video out the day of like most of the other YouTubers were for the Object 120, there was really no point in hurrying and doing a less than stellar job with it, so I elected to do the first 10 the next day and did a less than stellar job with it, although I had a couple decent battles, so it wasn't all bad. Getting back to this battle, however, somebody has made it in and taken the C point in front of me, and I'm going to see what I can do to find him and take him out with my mighty T-55 and its tungsten laser darts, or whatever actual metal the AP FSDS penetrator is made from for the T-55A. I don't actually remember off the top of my head. If it's not tungsten, don't worry about it. You don't need to blast me in the comments for it. It's not that important. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys don't have to have, like, you know, an episode over it or anything. So I moved up into C, and it turns out whoever was there holding it had moved out of the point, so I moved up into the little hidey hole position here to hopefully cap it. And as I'm backing myself into position, somebody is close enough to shoot artillery at me, which shouldn't really be a mystery since somebody was close enough to capture it. So I'm doing a sweep around, seeing if I can find anybody from anywhere. I can hear someone driving next to me, but there is a teammate right behind me, so I'm not sure if I can hear an enemy to the front or a teammate to the rear. And then all of a sudden I can see a leopard directly in front of me. Snapped a shot at him and missed and thought that was going to be a fatal mistake, but apparently he was concerned with the guys off into the woods, and he didn't hear my shot, or he saw it and decided to get back to where he could repair, or reload rather, I'm not sure, but it seems like he didn't know I was there, judging by the lack of reaction he had with my flying forward and blasting him from above. So, unfortunately, I didn't win the race with the other leopard, and all I could do was kind of get my machine guns into position to light him up and hope that somebody would take him out, which they almost did. Unfortunately, a KPZ-70 with APF SDS came up and killed me, but he got killed immediately right afterwards, too, so it wasn't all bad, at least at the C point. However, the enemy held all the capture points there, so it wasn't exactly good either. So, time to come back in the IL-28 and see if I can maybe get some measure of extra research there. Now, one of my subscribers, or at least one of my regular viewers, I'm pretty sure he subscribed to me, Scorplion609 on the other side there, is going to show up in a Horton here and chase me down. He was talking to me about this battle and a different battle in the comments section, but he didn't know I was going to turn this one into a battle, so when you see this one, here's the battle I was talking about, and like I said, you'll see that my tail gunner never did shoot at your Horton, so it's not that my tail gunner aim is bad. My tail gunners are usually pretty bad, but when I'm manually aiming, I usually have pretty decent aim. But you'll see in this battle, my tail gunner never even engaged him in his Horton. So, like I was talking about, kind of alluding to in the first battle of this video, it's tricky to get the IL-28 in the right approach path, basically, to land and not go off the end of some of these runways. There's no speed brakes or anything, and if you cut your engines off too early, you can stall out and crash, or if you aren't slowed down enough, you're going to go right off the end of the runway and not be able to restart your engines and do a go-around. It's really tricky, and if you don't have your engines cut off, the idle thrust that they provide is still enough to help push you forward down the runway, and that's a little dangerous. In this case, I managed to actually pull off a pretty decent landing, but I have crashed just short of the runway or bounced and gone off the end of the runway more times than I can count in my IL-28 on some of these really short runways on some of these maps, and it can really be frustrating. This was no problem. Pulled it off, but And as I return back into battle, a battle which is by now pretty much a foregone conclusion. Not necessarily so, but it's going to take some miraculous effort by the few remaining tanks on our team to take at least 2 points away from them, and then hold them long enough for the tickets to swing back in our favor, because I don't think we're going to kill everybody out. Even if I can come back and try to drop my 3,000 kilo bomb on somebody, it's only going to take one guy out at best, most likely. The odds of me getting a multiple strike on this map, where it's all kinds of trees and cover and really fast-moving enemy tanks, pretty low. So there, okay, so it's 609 Scorpion, sorry, not Scorpion 609. I was pretty sure that was a squadron tag, but anywho, he's there in his Horton 229. He's going to be looking for me in a moment, and he's really difficult to pick up in all this ground clutter here with all the trees and different color stuff on the ground coming, and you can't really see smoke from aircraft engines very much. Naturally, the one guy that I see here that I'm getting ready to drop a bomb on gets killed by an Object 120. But as no enemies were being marked, I'm doing everything I can to try and spot anything moving, which at this point, there's not a lot of point for the enemy tanks to be moving, as they hold all the capture points. They all should just be sitting still and camping and waiting for our guys to try and move in to capture them. And you can see the Horton coming in behind me now. Got a Yak 3 trying to chase him down. But as you can see, Yuri the tail gunner is asleep on the job again and totally ignorant of any sort of hostile threat coming in behind us. So I'm hoping that this Horton that's chasing me, which I didn't know what it was until after the battle, but I'm hoping that the guy chasing me is going to come in and try and get in behind me, and I dropped a bomb to try and catch him by surprise, but he wasn't actually chasing me in the Horton anymore right there, so you can see that my right engine has been shot out and has quit on me, but I've still got the left engine going, and I'm otherwise pretty much not damaged. So somehow the aircraft is still flying alright, but probably wouldn't have held on much longer, would have been bleeding speed. So got killed, but it didn't count because it was after the battle. But like I said, my tail gunner never even fired a shot, so ended up doing alright in the battle, all things told, as far as research goes. Bit more research towards the SU-100P. And, I mean, we had some pretty good scores on our team, we just didn't have enough of the whole team really contributing. Most people didn't get anywhere near the caps, and of course that's going to cost you. So, spoiler, it's not Battle 3 that was terrible. So moving on for Battle 3 here. Not a shock, hopefully, to you guys that I started in the T-55A, since I already told you that's generally what I start in. I like to start with the T-55A and then bring the T-62 as the backup if I can help it. Now that I do have the Object 120, and I put the Object 120 in my SPAA/SPG slot, I am going to probably start with the Object 120 in most situations where it's practical. Any place where it's not a good battle for the Object 120, I'll still use the T-55A as my first tank. And then once I finish my ZSU 23-4 research, I will probably get a new crew and put the ZSU 23-4 there, and leave the Object 120 in the higher crew skill crew slot I have it in now, which for this video is the crew slot where I have my ZSU 57. I'm kind of dying to get rid of the ZSU 57 because it is just inadequate as an anti-aircraft gun. But I've got more important things to research right now for the Soviets. Was able to move up behind a fellow T-55A who's been logging into the game without missing a day a lot longer than I have. We both hit that Leopard, I believe. I believe it was just a split second of he didn't quite do fatal damage just before I did do fatal damage. But I'm pretty sure he would have gotten an assist on the Leopard A1 there. I had another shot where just the top of the face of the Leopard somehow bounces the AP FSDS. Waited till the smoke cleared to be sure that I could see the guy. Got a pretty good hit, took out his driver and his loader. And was hoping that I slowed his load down enough, which apparently I did, because the TPD-5 to my left was able to take him out just as I started taking some hits from his coax machine gun, so probably would have had a Leopard shot coming in on me very soon afterwards. I believe we traded kills and assists there, the T-55A next to me and myself. And then we just kind of simultaneously pushed up a little ahead of the A point to make sure that we made a little bit of a defensive perimeter beyond the capture zone, rather than just waiting at the capture zone. I kind of liked fighting alongside this guy. He had a pretty similar mindset and tactics as I was using, which was kind of neat from a reality sort of perspective, with the pair of T-55As sort of working together as a squad or a half a platoon there. Until he decided he was going to go right on up into their spawn, which I prefer not to do, but still I was able to spot this KPZ-47, get a good shot into his engine, which I think deflected off his turret downwards and into his engine deck and set him on fire. Should have made him immobilized and left me a very appealing follow-up shot to take out his crew for my second kill. Not too bad of a battle so far for the T-55A, and all I've taken is some machine gun fire hits as return fire, so not too bad at all. So we've got enemy tanks taking the C point, and I'm going to push my way across this bridge and move in between B and C to hopefully intercept any enemies that are coming up from the C point to capture B, or possibly out of their spawn and head for the B point as well. So A is pretty well covered by the guys back behind me. B and C in between there somewhere becomes enemy territory. So I put some artillery on an enemy being marked on the map to try and give a little bit of fire support to our lone guy at the C point, who I believe got some fire support from an Object 120, who I think took out the Leopard that was the threat that I had fired artillery at. But just the same, I don't consider that to be wasted artillery fire. And try to weave my way around this little S-curve maze of buildings and ramps and stuff to get into the C point to help, to assist with the recapturing of the territory for the motherland. And I was able to make it in plenty of time, along with a couple of Object 120s, or an Object 120 and a T-95E1 rather, as well as a T-54 1947. Unfortunately, I couldn't assist with the repairs on the Object 120 here, but they were calling out that there was somebody behind us who had hit the Object 120, so I'm gonna haul it about as hard as I can to try and go back and find whatever it is that had hit him and deal with it, because I certainly don't want something getting behind us. And kind of a funny question there in the chat about whether or not I was doing a first 10 on the T-55A, which I had done the first 10 for the T-55A like, I don't know, weeks or months prior to this. I took a pretty good hit from Leopard there, but thankfully he revealed his position and someone else was moving in on him and they took him out, so not too much damage really done. Lost the breach and a couple crew members, but the battle was pretty safe, so wasn't too bad. Wasn't too concerned, even though I was facing the wrong direction. You can see a duck making some low passes, and I was really hoping I'd be able to get some shots at him, although I'd lost the tank commander, so the actual usable anti-aircraft gun is pretty much out of commission. There's really nobody left on the other team, so this battle's effectively over. And unfortunately, we've got a whole bunch of guys in their spawn, which I don't like, but what can you do? All I could do was hope that the duck flew over where my coax machine gun could hit him, and he almost did. I thought my shot was pretty close there for the main gun, but not close enough. There's so much going on with two three-dimensional things moving through space there that getting a hit on him there would have been pretty lucky. Now you can see he's got some sort of damage because it looks like he's stalling out. Fired another shot at him that didn't really have any chance of hitting him. And was hoping that he was going to get down low, haul a left turn, and come back around and try to strafe. But I'm pretty sure he went all the way back to his airfield, and that was that. So I got into a position where I had the best possible chance of 360 visibility to spot the duck coming out of wherever he's coming from. And just sat and waited. Now, you guys can skip ahead to the next battle if you want, but this won't take too much longer. You can see the ticket bleed is going, and the duck is the last guy left, so there he is, way out there in the distance, tail dragging and nose high with some sort of engine problems, apparently. So far away that I've basically got no real frame of reference for how far he is, and no idea if my shot is even anywhere close to within the effective range, but those are the kind of shots you take, because what have you really got to lose? If you hit him, it's going to be an epic legendary moment, and if you miss, well, he's like 3 or 4 kilometers away, so who cares? I do love how many of our guys are just heading for their spawn as if, like, someone else is going to respawn there and they're all going to pounce on them like the seagulls in Finding Nemo and get a cheap kill. I was trying to get the HS-129 to turn around and come back and fly through the gauntlet of all of our team shooting at him because I thought it would have been really hilarious. And I was thinking of the scene in the beginning of Dances with Wolves where Kevin Costner's on the horse riding back and forth hoping that the guys would shoot him because he's doesn't want to lose his leg and he's kind of given up. But alas, it was not to be. The duck just kept on heading back to his base. And then crashed from damage that he'd taken from the Centurion Mark 10. So obviously he had some sort of damage from machine guns or possibly a main gun hit that the instructor kept him flying, and he finally crashed out somewhere off in the distance behind those buildings back towards his airfield, and that was that for the team. I don't think there was too much chance of anybody respawning with 7 of our players in their spawn. But another successful battle for the 30% research booster, and pretty good score again. Not too bad on the vehicle research front again, and no deaths, so a little bit cheaper of a research or a repair cost rather. Only good enough for 6th place, but a victory is a victory, and the extra 120% research and 67% lines does add up. Kind of a boring kill feed, but not me getting killed. And spoilers! Here's how Battle 4 went. So you can see, didn't last very long, we lost, nobody did anything particularly useful, 1 guy had 3 kills, 1 guy had 2 kills, a few guys had 1, and nobody else really had anything. I got taken out by a pair of MBT-70s, and that was that. And then it was time for battle number 5. And the final battle for this video. Again, starting out in the T-55A. I like it when you get domination on this map. It's I think this is one of the better linear domination maps as far as not really channeling everybody into a kind of a murder hole sort of thing. But you can also, most people tend to stay within the sort of the city limits here, as it were, between A, B, and C, and do most of their fighting there. You'll get the occasional people who still go off to the north in the trees or to the south on the hill there, where there used to be capture points in the lower tier battles. But for the most part, it's onesie-twosies, and most people will stick around in the middle and actually get involved in a big fight. Now, once you get aircraft involved, obviously things get kind of thrown out the window. But for the most part, it's a pretty decent knockdown, drag-out, street fighting kind of brawl within the confines of the village and city here, and I like that kind of gameplay. Everyone kind of gets to move. You can shoot and scoot, go from cover to cover. It kind of takes away all the advantages and disadvantages of basically most tanks. So if you're not fast enough, or if you're not armored well enough, you can really compensate for that by dancing around behind the in and out of the buildings here in either of those cases, and kind of make up for your deficiencies in whatever you're driving. Got into the first capture. Didn't really have a chance to wait for the team, but that's alright. At least I was able to get in on the cap, I guess. I would have preferred everyone to get up there, but research is research, I suppose. And started pushing forward. The T-62 off to my left got taken out by a Leopard A1A1. I took a pretty good hit that somehow I survived with very little damage. And left me completely combat capable except for the rooftop machine gun. But held back to see if I could catch the guy moving as a KPZ-70 kills a guy off to my right. And as I was calling it on the first day, the Object 120 was a memium, not a premium, although I got a little more disappointed with it the next day when I did the first 10 for it. But it wasn't too bad, and I've had some decent fights with it. I haven't had that one really good battle with it yet, but hopefully soon. TM. Now, the Leopard who had killed me, I'm pretty sure just got taken out by an Object 120 here after he fired off his smoke. But I'm going to sit here and just make sure. As I take a hit from somebody else who can see me clearly up there on the hills off to the right, or maybe to my left, I wasn't sure. So back behind cover and tried to get my repair going and hopefully get some artillery. And it turns out it was in fact a guy off to my left, and he was all covered in bushes, and that's why I couldn't really see him. So, oh well, one capture later, time to come back in the T-62. Our team did thankfully capture the C point at the meantime while I was getting killed, so we started a ticket bleed. So that's good. The battle was pretty much even at this point, although we're just barely taking a ticket lead when they start taking the C point back, so obviously that's where I'm going to head. You can see some of our team getting a bit thinned out here, but we've got a couple guys coming back in aircraft, so it's not quite as bad as it looks on the minimap, although it's not looking too good just yet. The enemy team has taken the C point. I'm trying to get myself up there to cut them off before they can get too far into our territory and stop us from ever being able to advance forward again. Trying to proceed as cautiously as I can around all this cover, because obviously I'm the only one up here and there's nobody who's going to be able to make it to me to help, and the closest guys are a couple of SPAA anyways, so even if they could make it up to me to help, it's kind of doubtful how much help they're going to be able to provide. Detect somebody driving by in a Leopard, get a pretty good well-timed shot into the middle of the crew compartment and take him out. Back into my cover, start repairing as someone starts capturing the B point and is marked, and I can spot where he is. He takes out my squad mate way up in the north in his BSU-57, but hopefully I'm going to move in here and spot him, and sure enough, get a good shot into a Leopard with his turret pointed off to the side, take out his crew, and see another shot go by for somebody, and as I'm trying to back up and get myself back in a position to shoot him, he had done the same thing, fired and backed around cover. Now thankfully he backed completely out of the zone, so at least I was inadvertently stopping him from capturing the B point. I'm sitting and waiting for him to peek out again, which I'm pretty sure he's not going to do, and then as a bunch of artillery hits around him, I take advantage of the dirt flying up to move, so hopefully he doesn't see me, and I can maybe catch him by surprise. I can see him moving. I can't tell which part of him is there and whether or not he can see me or not. And then as he shoots, and a different guy shoots rather, it's the guy who killed me earlier with all the bushes on him. I got a pretty good hit through him and set him on fire as his buddy, or rather as he comes pulling up to try and get a finishing shot on me, and then I luckily got a faster shot off on him and took his crew out. The other Leopard that I had spotted got taken out by my squad mate in his C-44-100, and we started capturing a point as there's some guys getting marked down to the south of me. So I used the mini-map to swing my turret view in the right direction and then wait for the turret to catch up, so I know that someone's over here. I see him get hit and marked. I'm looking for him, trying to spot him, try to use my machine gun to see if I can actually hit the guy. He's probably behind some kind of a building that I can't see around here, so finish the capture on the B point, and then I'm going to try to get the T-62 Austin Powers around on the way back over there to get in and help the team take him out if they don't have him dead by the time I get there. One thing I don't like about the T-62 is it's very similar to the T-95E1 in its turning ability, that you have to go forward a little bit and then turn and burn all your energy, and then get your revs back up and go forward a little bit and then turn again. It takes a long time to get either one of those vehicles turned around. And that's frustrating sometimes. So we're going to move ourselves back up to the C point as quickly as possible and take that back. Or at least try to decap it and stop that ticket bleed, because we're running pretty low on the old blue juice up there in the top of the map, or top of the screen. Squad mate is doing some work and thinning out some Leopard numbers, so good work there. And as like I'm rolling into the C point, someone warns that there's somebody up there. I'm watching for him, and sure enough, it's a Tiger II. Got what I thought should have been a pretty darn good hit into him that turned out to just take out his loader and immobilize him. Thought I was going to get a return fire into the side there, but I risked it and went in for the capture to start decapping as I reloaded with the APF SDS rounds. Put another good shot into him that I still thought should have finished him, but he still had 3 out of his 6 crew members left, so backed up there to try and reload in time to finish him off, and my squad mate finished him for me, which I was totally okay with, because I did not want to take a kill shot and cost me my capture there. Now you can see 2 airplanes coming in, and before I can get the gun up, raised up on them, they're both hitting me and continuing onwards. Although I didn't take too much of serious damage, I did get knocked out by a Leopard who had obviously seen me get marked by their aircraft coming in before I could finish the capture on C. Luckily, a teammate did come in and take it out, or rather finish the capture for me at the end there. And then I thought, well, this is the last battle for the 30% research booster. I've got a pretty good anti-aircraft machine gun on the top of the T-10, plus I've got a talisman, plus we kind of need tanks more than we need either my B-25, J-30, or the IL-28 right now. So came back in the T-10 to take advantage of the possibility of capturing the A point and or getting 1 or 2 kills, and maybe even shooting down an aircraft. And doing all that with a talisman vehicle is probably a better idea. At this point, I was still trying to grind away as quickly as possible to finish up the FC-100P, so tank in battle was probably better than aircraft in battle for me. If the team had needed it, or the battle situation had called for it, I definitely had come back in either of the B-25 or the IL-28, but I figured tactically here and strategically it was kind of irrelevant to have aircraft up. There were enough of us left in tanks, and we were working together well enough that we should have been fine with another armor and not an aircraft spotter, so. Plus the T-10 is pretty darn fast, and there was a hard-packed road to drive on, so I thought I might actually have an off chance of making it to the A point in time to help with the capture. Especially if somebody takes out our teammate who's on the A point. Unfortunately, I didn't have any real good idea where the guy was who killed our teammate on A, but I'm a little less confident nowadays in the ability of the T-10 to go driving right up to enemy forward straight into the enemy and survive hits. What with Hesh and Heat FS being able to hit the pike nose and kill everybody inside. But I'm still confident enough to risk it with the need to have the capture of the point going our way. Unfortunately, I got hit by a leopard there that somehow I didn't get a kill shot into, and then started taking hits from behind as well. Drove as fast as I could to try and get into the A point and continue my reload, and just couldn't go fast enough and got hit by a leopard back behind me. And if you guys want to, normally I don't push for people to report people for chat, but in this case, if you guys want to report the guy there in all chat, be my guest. I mean, there's video evidence right there if anybody really wants to question it. Back to the battle. Came back in the ZSU-57, hoping to make it back into the capture point at sea and get a little bit of ZSU-57 research, but there was basically no way unless both of our guys got bombed out there. Either way, I could at least maybe provide a little bit of air cover. Anti-air cover, I should say, just in case anybody came back from their team in a CAS asset or a bomber or something. And our team took the capture point, and that was pretty much the completion of a pretty good comeback victory. Just a couple guys left. Things looked pretty dark and dim for us for a little while there, but the team held together and didn't quit and kept on pushing forward and actually did pretty well. It did help that there was a point in the battle where there were more of them in aircraft than there were in tanks, and none of us were in aircraft and we were in tanks, and I think that made a big difference. Something like Poland or one of the desert maps, we probably would have been decimated because there's nothing to hide behind, but it's pretty tricky to spot ground targets here in all of this brown, dingy kind of color wrecked village and trees and stuff, so I think that worked to our advantage. And that did it. Come from behind victory, and the best battle of the whole 5 battles ended up being the 5th one. At least with regard to research, vehicle research, as you can see, broke over the almost 5,500 vehicle research. A 3rd place. I had a 1st place in the 1st battle, so place-wise that was the best one, but score-wise and vehicle research-wise, this was the best one. I did get more money in the 1st battle, but didn't do too badly here either. So that'll do it. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I know these videos are a little bit longer. Most of the time I get 4 good battles out of a 5. Occasionally I get 5 good battles, but for the most part there's usually going to be one battle where I'm just going to be like, nope, skip it, not worth it. And that keeps us to around like 40 minutes. But anyway, thank you guys for stopping by and checking this one out. Let me know what you thought in the comments, and we'll see you next time. Have a great day, everybody.